boy that wanted to become an adventurer. He awakened a F-rank trash skill that lets him copy skills. But it always fails. That resulted in him being constantly bullied. It even came to a point that they made him a sacrifice inside a dungeon. Luckily, a hot damn goddess recognized his grit and granted him new powers. What do you think would happen next? Would they help each other to grow stronger? Watch the whole recap to know more. The title of the manga is God-Slaying Copycat. The story begins with a large earthquake that shook the entire world, causing dungeons to manifest across the land. Large rays of light appeared all over the place. The monsters that appeared from the dungeons weren't affected by any normal weapons. The only ones that could combat the monsters were those who acquired a supernatural power known as skills. By using skills to defeat monsters, the skill holders are able to level up and strengthen themselves to unforeseeable heights. These powerful individuals who inspire both fear and respect became known as the Awakened. And right now, we see one person holding a sword that was about to fight a goblin. This guy is our main character named Kisaragi Tsukasa. He's a level 4 awakened with a skill called Imitate. He swung his sword towards the goblin. He was successful on hitting it, but the cut was too shallow. His skill Imitate also prompted him that it failed to copy the target's skill. Tsukasa got frustrated upon seeing that notification, and since he got distracted, the goblin used this opportunity to jump and prepare for an attack. All of a sudden, someone uttered the word burn. Mana started to gather, and a fireball was formed. The goblin that was about to hit Tsukasa was hit by this skill, and its body was reduced to ashes. A guy with red hair approached Tsukasa and reminded him that he shouldn't be struggling to kill a trash mob like that. He even called our MC an idiot. This person right here is Todo Kakeru. He's a level 15 awakened, and his skill is called Flame Master. Tsukasa knew that Kakeru was regarded as the shining star of the next generation of awakened, and the reason for that lies in his skill. In this world, skills began to manifest in a select group of humans at the same time the dungeons first appeared. They can determine one's rank and superiority as an awakened. Kakeru advised Tsukasa to quit sitting there with that stupid look on his face and start retrieving the magic stones already. He claimed that it was the least he could do to be useful. Tsukasa had a sullen expression as he answered, "Got it." Flame Master. It's considered an extraordinarily powerful skill that allows him to manipulate fire at will. On the other hand, all our MC got was the Imitate skill, and to activate it, he still needs to make physical contact with a monster, and he could only use the skill ones. That already poses a huge risk because Tsukasa is still a low-leveled awakened. The success rate of Imitate was also extremely low. While picking up the magic stones dropped by the monsters, he thought that Imitate was really a flawed skill. The other awakened that came with him gossiped about Tsukasa's presence with these kinds of dungeons. Riku and Hayato commented that Tsukasa couldn't even fight properly using his trash skill. They advised him to just give up already. Kakeru butted in and wrapped his arm around Tsukasa. He told the two that they shouldn't be like that. After all, they were all comrades. But after that statement, Tsukasa felt chills to his body as Kakeru whispered that he should make the most of his trash skill. Our MC had no choice but to accept all the ridicules he received from them. When times like this come, he just tries to remember the main reason why he became an adventurer. And that was because of his little sister, Kisaragi Mayu. She suffers from an unknown illness that has affected her since she was born. Tsukasa was hoping to find the elixir that was inside the dungeons. It's an omnipotent medicine that can cure any illness. And until he was able to get his hands on it, he thought that he couldn't afford to give up on being an adventurer. Riku then proceeded to ask Kakeru about their target for today. Hayato confirmed if they will be going to the boss room. While stepping on one of the goblins' corpses, Kakeru answered that they were after the monster's den. This one was planning to loot all of the treasure for themselves. Moments have passed and we could see huge explosions inside the dungeon. The one that caused this was Kakeru. He spammed his fireball skill to immediately kill all the goblins in the area, and since he had been defeating a lot of them, this guy leveled up. Meanwhile, Tsukasa could only watch them and curse in his mind. He thought that the only way to level up is by killing monsters. But he can't defeat one on his own. Even if he joins a party, Kakeru and the others kill them all, so he doesn't get any experience points at all. Tsukasa felt more frustrated as he thought that if that's how it's gonna be, then coming with them was pointless. A few moments later, their group had finally reached the place where all the treasures that the goblins hoarded were placed. Riku and Hayato celebrated as they inspected all of the things they could sell, but Kakeru went the other way. Tsukasa noticed this and directed his gaze towards the Flame Master. An unexpected fireball was then casted towards the dead end of the dungeon. A huge-ass golden door was revealed. Kakeru laughed out loud as he didn't expect to find a bonus room. Bonus rooms are usually filled with valuable and powerful items, but on the other hand, most of them are likely to be rigged with traps. If adventurers happen to run into a vicious trap, they could be killed instantly. These three were aware of the danger that lurks inside the bonus room, so they talked about a plan. Kakeru told them that they should really be worried as he got a good idea. The Flame Master approached Tsukasa, who was busy picking up the magic stones. Our MC noticed him and turned around, but that was also the time when he received a powerful punch from Kakeru. Tsukasa's body trembled as he fell on the ground. He then heard Kakeru apologizing. Kakeru grabbed Tsukasa as he claimed that he will fulfill an important role, and that was because he will become the sacrifice that will die for them. Tsukasa still couldn't believe what he just heard. Riku and Hayato were also caught off guard. They were hesitant and inquired if Kakeru was really determined to sacrifice his own classmate just to trigger traps. Even for them, this move was way too dark. Kakeru then turned his gaze to them and answered that he's just finding a way to recycle a useless piece of trash like Tsukasa. With that, these two losers got persuaded and carried the body of Tsukasa towards the door of the bonus room. Kakeru kicked him while thanking Tsukasa for helping them out. This fucker even smiled at our MC while telling him that they should meet again if Tsukasa managed to survive. The door was slowly closing, and all Tsukasa could do was to tell them to go and eat shit. After that, the door was shut, and he cursed to himself. A bright blue aura was starting to move its way towards our MC, until it turned into a bright light that nearly blinded him. Upon opening his eyes, he checked the surroundings. In front of him was a place that looked like he was inside a coliseum. While wondering where he was, Tsukasa noticed a pair of glowing eyes in one of the passages. He immediately felt a heavy pressure upon seeing what's in front of him. He fell backwards while remembering the ranks of dungeons. They were beginner, intermediate, advanced, and heroic, and each of them differs in difficulty as the monsters grow stronger. And the final rank that no one has ever conquered before was the mythic rank dungeons. The owner of the glaring eyes a while ago was this fierce monster that roared towards Tsukasa. It's called the God-Eater Fenrir. Its level is already at 80, and as for its skills, they were all hidden. While looking at the Fenrir, Tsukasa wondered if this was a fucking joke. He tried to get up as he thought that there's no way he would be transported into a mythic rank dungeon. This wasn't even funny, but since a Fenrir was already in front of him, he really had no other choice. I refuse. Tsukasa then remembered his bitter life. Both of his parents died suddenly one day. Mayu was the only family he had, and for Mayu's sake our MC exclaimed that he refuses to die in a place like this. He got this determined look on his eyes while raising his sword towards the monster. Even with the overwhelming difference in their levels, Tsukasa was the first one to make a move. He jumped towards the Fenrir and shouted, "Take this, bastard!" But his attempt was futile, as the Fenrir just countered it with a loud roar. Tsukasa was sent flying towards the opposite direction. The roar was followed up with a powerful beam that came out from the Fenrir's mouth, and it was a direct hit. Our MC was then blasted at the wall. It even had cracks from the impact. Blood also dripped down his face. Tsukasa coughed out blood as a notification window informed him that his skill imitate failed to copy the target skill. He thought that maybe this was really the end. The Fenrir was already making its way towards him. But he still tried to stand up as he was still filled with determination and desperation. A memory of Mayu's smile flashed before his eyes as he thought of apologizing to her for him being a pathetic brother. Tsukasa was about to close his eyes and accept his fate. But then he heard a voice say, "Sit!" The whole atmosphere felt heavier after that word. The floor even started to crack. Our MC then noticed that he was the only one unaffected by the sudden increase of gravitational pull. The Fenrir in front of him couldn't even stand. It was like being forced to stay still. The voice spoke again. "Good boy, Fenrir." Someone wearing heels started to walk towards Tsukasa. This mysterious person added that she would appreciate it more if Fenrir was a bit more gentle with Tsukasa. This lady had long silver hair. She also has pointed ears. Her appearance was then revealed, and as usual, goddamn, she looked fine. She advised the Fenrir that Tsukasa was their important guest after all. The lady addressed Tsukasa and welcomed him in her castle. She was pleased to meet such a young man. Meanwhile, our MC was still confused on what's happening. Just seconds before, he was already about to die. And now, he's wondering who the hell was this hot waifu in front of him. The two stared at each other. The lady was thrilled because Tsukasa still managed to speak after the beating he got from Fenrir. She commented that he's in better shape than she expected. She smiled and told Tsukasa that something was still impossible for him as of right now. The lady placed her hand on our MC's cheek, and it freaked him out. Her face came closer, and she whispered that what's about to happen is her present to him. After that, a huge red magic circle appeared below them, and the whole area was filled with vast amounts of mana. The lady told Tsukasa to be grateful. Our MC's eyes widened as the mana started to fill up his body. A red notification window appeared, and it informed him that his skill, Imitate, has evolved into a new skill called Copycat. An immense amount of mana particles have also been received. Tsukasa's level has increased significantly. His status window showed that from level 4, he's now already level 25. Our MC wondered what the hell just happened. The lady had these glaring eyes as she giggled. Tsukasa tried standing, but then the lady told him that she'll excuse herself now. Black smoke appeared, and it surrounded the lady. Our MC pleaded for her to wait for a second. He wanted to hear some explanation first, but the lady smiled and just advised him to use his new power to defeat Fenrir. If he does that, Tsukasa will be able to leave this mythic rank dungeon called Trickstar. Our MC struggled regaining his footing while the lady had completely vanished. And then the calm atmosphere changed as the Fenrir roared at the top of its lungs. Tsukasa wondered if that bitch was kidding, as there's no way he could win against this monster. The Fenrir's claw was already heading towards him. Luckily, Tsukasa blocked it with his sword. A window appeared, and it informed him that his copycat skill has activated. Our MC was pushed back from Fenrir's attack. But at the same time, the skills of the freaking monster have now been copied. Tsukasa cursed and wondered how he's supposed to fight this monster. Round 2 was about to begin. Both of them were wary of each other's presence. And right at that moment, Tsukasa finally noticed the notification windows. He couldn't believe that he copied Fenrir's skill. The first skill that appeared was called Heavenly Authority. This envelops the user's body with the might of the gods to enhance physical abilities to the utmost limit. The duration is 1 minute. Tsukasa thought that if he used this skill, he might be able to win, but since it will only last 1 minute, he'll have to carefully choose when to use it. The Fenrir let out its roar again, and that was because it was ready to pounce. It dashed towards Tsukasa while trying to slash him with its deadly claws. Fortunately, this guy easily evaded them. He noted that his body feels so light. He must be able to react to these things faster because his level increased. Tsukasa maintained some distance between him and the Fenrir while thinking that he still couldn't believe that he just copied the skill of a mythic rank monster. Back then, all he had was this trashy skill that couldn't even copy the skill of a freaking goblin. But now that it evolved, it has a 100% chance to copy its target's skill. The skills also do not disappear after use. The only requirement for this one was a physical contact or experience of the skill firsthand. While he was distracted, the Fenrir used one of its skills, and it let out this intimidating aura towards Tsukasa. It was more than enough to make our MC have difficulty breathing. This one was called the Divine Wolf's Force. It limits the mobility of the enemies. Tsukasa fell, while still trying to use his sword to support his body. Dark lightning also surrounded him, and since he experienced the Divine Wolf's Force, it was successfully copied. More detailed information was then shown towards Tsukasa. It uses the presence of the Silver Wolf to intimidate opponents. The duration of the skill is 10 seconds, and it changes depending on the target's level difference. Tsukasa finally got it now. To experience means taking the skill head-on. After 10 seconds, he was able to stand again. He thought that the intimidation skill almost got him crying. He let his guard down for a moment, and then his eyes widened on what he witnessed. The Fenrir used a skill called Vanargand, and a series of dark slashes appeared. Tsukasa was frozen for a second upon witnessing the attack. But at the very last moment, his body moved and was able to dodge the attack. Just by the looks of it, there's no way he'll survive if the attack hits him. He knew that he needed to be more careful from now on. The Fenrir didn't give him enough time to rest and was about to dash again. Tsukasa blocked the slashes with his own sword. He already was struggling, but you can see it in his eyes that he still hasn't given up yet. He also thought that if this keeps up, he'll surely run out of strength. Even though he has a more powerful skill now and could copy the Fenrir's attacks, his stamina wouldn't be able to last long. With that thought in mind, he remembered the Heavenly Authority skill. The Fenrir casted the Vanargand skill again. Tsukasa knew that this time, it's already a do-or-die moment. He finally used the Heavenly Authority, and it was successfully activated. Mana surrounded his body, and he really powered up. The Vanargand skill hit where Tsukasa was standing, and it created a massive explosion. Amidst the dust and debris, a notification window was shown, and it showed that the Vanargand skill was copied. It then revealed Tsukasa having been surrounded by a powerful aura. This right here is the moment we all have been waiting for. Just by the look on his eyes, something really changed. The Heavenly Authority has started its countdown. Tsukasa now has 60 seconds to finish this fight. He raised his sword and it summoned dark lightning around it. Our MC also fixed his posture for the upcoming attack. He swung his sword towards the Fenrir and it released an ominous slash. The attack was none other than Vanargand, the very same lethal skill that the mythic monster has. The attack was heading towards the Fenrir at an incredible speed, and because it was an unexpected attack, this fucker didn't have the time to dodge. Heavenly Authority only has 50 seconds left. Tsukasa continued his attacks. While slashing and landing hits on his opponent, he thought that the Heavenly Authority skill could really be used to kill gods. He felt the power that was oozing from his body. The Fenrir roared to gain back the momentum, but all he got was a kick on its face. Our MC finally saw a chance and thought that maybe he could win this fight. The kick sent the mythic monster flying, and it hit the ground. The skill only has 30 seconds left. Tsukasa dashed again. He continued his vicious attacks. The tables have really turned now. 20 seconds before the skill ends, and Fenrir finally managed to block his slashes. Tsukasa was pushed back while becoming more desperate to end the battle. Both of them had the same thought in their minds, that they would end it using the Vanargand skill. These two casted Vanargand at the same time, and they clashed. No one was backing down even just a little bit. But since there's a huge level difference, the Vanargand of the Fenrir won the clash. The attack was now heading towards our MC, but Tsukasa seemed to have expected this and was able to react right away. He knew that his attack wouldn't be able to reach the Fenrir because he was under-leveled. And in that case, he thought of a plan. This fucker knew that the only way to win this was to hit the Fenrir in a close distance and directly. The Fenrir charged a powerful dark beam on its mouth. Tsukasa was still running. His eyes widened as he thought that something didn't work. 8 seconds remained until the Heavenly Authority skill was finished, and the Fenrir released a powerful attack. Tsukasa just stared at it while it was coming his way. A massive explosion was created. Unexpectedly, our MC appeared right above the Fenrir. He managed to dodge the attack. The Fenrir saw him, and it prepared another beam. Meanwhile, Tsukasa has already raised his sword. He only has 5 seconds remaining. Before the beam could leave the Fenrir's mouth, it got hit by Tsukasa's sword. That made the monster groan in pain. A second later, Tsukasa landed right on its face while pulling the sword from its eye. He raised his sword once again. He shouted that this right here will be the end of the freaking fight. 1 second before the skill ends, Tsukasa swung his sword and released his attack. But before it could land, someone uttered the word, "Stop." The sword stopped inches away from the Fenrir's other eye. Tsukasa's whole body was frozen in place. This prompted his copycat skill to be activated. It notified him that a skill called wordplay was successfully copied. The one that casted the skill was the lady a while ago. She clapped her hands while telling Tsukasa that he really played it well. That was a wonderful performance indeed. She then snapped her fingers. Tsukasa's frozen body fell on the ground while the lady announced that the fight was over. She commented that this calls for a peaceful tea party. A few moments later, the Fenrir was already resting while the lady sat on the top of its body. Tsukasa asked her why exactly she was doing this. The lady casually answered that maybe just to kill time. She narrated that adventurers hardly ever come to her castle, and even if they do, Fenrir normally kills them right away, so she never expected to encounter someone like Tsukasa. That statement made our MC more confused. The lady then walked towards him and asked if he would be willing to hear her request. While touching Tsukasa's cheek, she revealed that she would like to experience the outside world for herself. She added that the outer world has a slim amount of mana particles, so she can't explore it freely. And that's when she'll be needing Tsukasa's help. Our MC seemed to be bewildered by this waifu's charm, and he accepted right away. That was truly unexpected, and it shocked the lady. She blushed and smiled while telling Tsukasa that she didn't think that there would be an immediate answer. But in Tsukasa's defense, he knew that there's uncertainty, and she can't really trust her. But it's thanks to her that a weakling like him was able to withstand Fenrir. He had this feeling that helping this beautiful lady would be in his best interest. Tsukasa wiped his sweat as he asked her how exactly she would do that. But before he could finish his sentence, his vision got blurry. The mysterious lady then hugged him and rested his head on her sweet buns. It seemed that Tsukasa used most of his strength. And before passing out, this lucky motherfucker asked for her name. The lady has finally revealed her identity, and she told him that her name is Loki. After that, our MC fell asleep. Loki, on the other hand, looked forward to working with him. The scene then shifted when an unfamiliar ceiling was shown. Tsukasa was finally awake. As he sat down, someone spoke and told him that he finally was awake. This person also branded him as a sleepyhead. Our MC inquired who this person was. The one who spoke sighed and asked if he had forgotten her already. A young girl with silver hair and red eyes was sitting beside Tsukasa's bed. She commented that him not recognizing her was really disrespectful. Hot waifu Loki turned into a freaking loli. It didn't take long for Tsukasa to think that this little girl right here was none other than Loki-san. Loki told him that he could drop the honorifics and just call her Loki. She approached Tsukasa. She then positioned herself on top of him while telling him that she finally had the chance to enjoy the outside world, but Tsukasa had been bedridden the whole time. That made her bored. Loki had this naughty gaze while telling Tsukasa that he should make it up with her. Tsukasa panicked and told her that she should get off him first. After a few seconds, the situation calmed down, and he's now asking what happened after he fainted. Loki revealed that she carried his body with her and teleported to a beginner-rank dungeon. Tsukasa asked how he got inside the hospital, and that was the first time Loki learned what this place was called. Loki used telekinesis to get one piece of apple on the table, and she explained that she left his unconscious body in the place she teleported them to. That way a passing adventurer would be able to find him easily. The one that brought him to the hospital was the one who saw him there. While this loli was enjoying her apple, Tsukasa asked her if she was able to teleport to the outside world all this time. Why did she only do it until now? Loki answered his question and told him that it was all because she is a god. In order to maintain her true form, she would require a vast amount of mana particles. And since this realm has an extremely low volume of mana, she can only manifest in this immature form. Finally, someone explained how lolis were being created. Tsukasa analyzed her answer and commented that she will be brought to the police for protection. That statement earned him a forehead chop as Loki felt a little bit disrespected. Our MC then changed the topic and asked her why she helped him. Loki was about to answer him, but she stopped mid-sentence. She had her devilish smile as she added that she would like to save the details for later. That confused Tsukasa even more. After that, Loki snapped her fingers. The same black smoke surrounded her once again, and our MC asked where she was going. Loki told him that she's not that ill-mannered to intrude on any time with his family. With that, this loli said her goodbyes. Loki completely vanished. At the same time, Tsukasa heard something near him. It was Mayu. She broke the glass of water that she was carrying. Her voice trembled as she uttered the name of her brother. Tsukasa stared at her while noticing how concerned she felt all this time. His little sister quickly ran towards him and hugged Tsukasa. She scolded him and called him a big dummy. Turns out, our MC had been in a coma for a whole week already. The doctors even said that he might never wake up. Tsukasa smiled and patted his sister's head. He had no idea that he had been out for that long. He also apologized for worrying her too much. Tears fell down from Mayu's eyes as she told him that she's so glad that her brother was finally awake. She couldn't imagine her life if he had left her too. Tsukasa then reassures her that he's not going anywhere. And that simple statement made Mayu smile again. She then told her brother that she still needs to go somewhere, so she'll let him rest for a bit more. Mayu also reassures her brother that she has been feeling really good lately, so he doesn't need to worry about her. As the door closed, Tsukasa sighed in relief. A few seconds later, Loki appeared once again. She asked him if that was his sister. Our MC said yes, and he told her Mayu's name. He added that she's the only family he has left. He remembered the time when they discovered her illness. Mayu had been sickly ever since she was born. All the doctors said that there's no cure for her condition, and that's the reason why Tsukasa have been delving into dungeons. He was searching for the medicine that can cure all ailments, but upon revealing that, Loki apologized to him, and that was because Mayu's illness is not something that can be cured even with that medicine. Tsukasa became frustrated upon hearing that. He asked Loki what she meant. This loli then explained that the source of Mayu's condition is most likely the dungeon's curse. Tsukasa asked for more information about the curse. Loki told him that the curse actually stems from a skill. She's not exactly sure who would have done it, but this is the work of another mythic rank being like herself. Tsukasa then came to the conclusion that if that skill was casted by another god, the only way to undo it was to kill the one who casted it. Loki was quick to confirm that he was right. Tsukasa then got her attention by calling her by her name. With a determined expression, Tsukasa declared that he's going to defeat the god who cursed his sister and cure Mayu. He asked Loki if she's willing to help him. The room was filled with silence as Loki thought about her answer. She then stood up and said, "Very well." She exuded her cuteness while telling Tsukasa that she will help him along the way. She happened to be curious as well about who would have cursed her. Tsukasa immediately thanked her. And with that, Loki declared that they must now take on dungeons every day for Tsukasa's training. He's gonna need more experience under his belt in order to challenge a mythic rank dungeon. Tsukasa awkwardly revealed that he would really like that plan, but there's one problem. He still needs to go to school. Loki asked him what he meant with school. Our MC told her that he studies at Tengetsu Academy, and all the students there are awakened. It's a specialized school for those aiming to become adventurers. But either way, that thing wouldn't really stop them. Tsukasa claimed that they will now be a team, both him and Loki. The cute Loli agreed and told him that she looks forward to his cooperation. 3 days later, on a day off, at the Japan Dungeon Management Organization, someone discussed that a person can't be allowed to enter the dungeon as a solo party. Tsukasa was the one being told about this information, and he replied that he had figured that much. The lady assessing his inquiry added that he should consider the level difference. It's stipulated that when adventuring solo, it's only safe to take on monsters that are at a lower level than someone. The lady added that Tsukasa would be evenly matched against monsters of the same level. And when fighting against a higher level monster, there's a large spike in danger level. On top of that, she told Tsukasa that he's still only at level 4. The monsters that appear in the beginner rank dungeon called Goblin's Den are all at least level 5. She returned Tsukasa's adventurer card while apologizing that rules are rules, even though he's just 1 level away from being able to enter. Loki then used her telepathy skill and talked to Tsukasa. She asked him if he would want this lady to turn into mincemeat. She's starting to get irritated by the rules of the organization. Apparently, these two submitted a fake card. They hid the real card of our MC that shows that he was already a level 25 adventurer. This was because they also wanted to hide the changes in his skill. It would surely be a pain in the ass if the JDMO finds out that he leveled up too quickly and his skill evolved. Loki whined about Tsukasa being too tolerant. She wondered if he's just being lazy. Our MC was about to tell Loki that they should go now, but this Loli had a different plan. She smiled and told Tsukasa that it's still too early to turn back. She then suggested that Tsukasa should try to use her wordplay skill. She's sure that the results will be quite interesting. Tsukasa nearly forgot about the skill that he copied from Loki. He thought that it's forbidden to activate any skills inside the facility, but he had no other choice. Our MC turned around and decided to give it a shot. He then repeated his words and asked once again if it would be possible for him to enter a dungeon solo. A notification window confirmed the use of the wordplay skill. The lady was quickly manipulated into following Tsukasa's demand. She asked for his D card so she could process his request. After that, these two happily walked away from the counter. Loki was also confident that her skill wouldn't be able to be detected. She had this smug face, as she claimed that wordplay is a god skill after all. Tsukasa let out an awkward laugh, while thinking that he might have underestimated Loki. Loki felt the awkwardness and asked Tsukasa if she just sensed a hint of disrespect. A few moments later, these two finally arrived at the room where the portal for the dungeon was located. This huge thing was called the Dungeon Gate. It lets adventurers freely come and go to any dungeon they want to visit. Tsukasa tapped his card and it got scanned. A system informed him that the gate is now opening. It reminded Tsukasa to be careful. While entering his first solo dungeon, our MC thought that it really doesn't matter what dungeon he must conquer or what monster he must slay. All he could think about was to break Mayu's curse. He would even kill a god if he needed to. Upon entering the portal, Tsukasa and Loki were transported to the Goblin's Den Floor 1. Loki asked him what exactly they were going to do now that they were in the dungeon. Our MC told her that for starters, he wanted to know how far he can go now. A few seconds later, a green foot appeared. The first monster of the dungeon is a goblin level 5. Tsukasa reached for his sword while saying that this is where he'll start off. He's determined to test his new strength against the very same monsters that he struggled to defeat back then. Kisaragi Tsukasa dashed towards the single goblin. He swung his sword and it effortlessly hit the monster. And unlike his previous attempt, this one was killed with only one strike. Loki pouted as she asked him why he was so satisfied about killing a mere goblin. Opponents like these are hardly to be considered a challenge. While picking up the magic stone, our MC told her to just let him be happy for a bit. This is the first time he had defeated a goblin by himself. Loki then argued that, of course, he will beat them. He's already level 25. Tsukasa then remembered that the reason his level advanced this far was because Loki granted him a large amount of mana particles. Thanks to that, he can now defeat the goblins that he couldn't beat before. On top of that, he could do it without even breaking a sweat. Tsukasa then thanked Loki and she liked it. She boasted that it was just a simple task for her. Loki turned her gaze to him and asked, "What's next?" Our MC then continued to walk and told her that they will keep heading deeper inside the dungeon. His main goal for today was to reach the boss room. Not long after, Tsukasa found the stairs towards the floor 5 of the Goblin's Den. Loki sighed in boredom once again. She claimed that this place was too boring. Tsukasa asked if she was expecting something different. Loki poked his cheek while telling him, obviously. She grinned as she revealed that she had been expecting a thrilling battle to get the blood rushing. But as it turns out, none of the monsters here can even be called Tsukasa's opponents. She whined that this is a serious issue. Her attention was shifted as she noticed something in front of them. Loki informed Tsukasa that it seemed that the main force of the goblins had finally shown themselves. Hordes of goblins awaited our MC on this floor. He then wondered if the boss room was nearby. Since he couldn't wait any longer, Tsukasa started to move. With one strike, he had killed one goblin. He thought that the first one to move takes the freaking win. Tsukasa played Fruit Ninja, but instead of fruits, he slashed these goblins. Even with their overwhelming numbers, he could still easily take them down. At first, he was worried about whether he could actually fight them, but this looked like a walk in the park. As more and more goblins were defeated, another horde would just rush towards our MC. This group seemed to be the last ones he needed to defeat. But since he had been fighting them for a while now, he thought that it was really such a hassle. He then raised his sword and imbued dark blue lightning to it. Loki was startled as soon as she saw it. She screamed for Tsukasa to stop what he was about to do, but it was already too late. Our MC used his Vanargon skill and launched it towards the goblins. That caused a massive explosion. When the dust settled, it revealed the damage the attack made. The goblins were also obliterated that even their ashes were not seen. Tsukasa had this satisfied look on his face as he took the whole group in one attack. But then, he felt a painful shock that traveled throughout his body. He fell on his knees while he vomited. Loki scolded him and revealed that this was the reason why she tried to stop him. She added that that's the price of using divine techniques with his weak human body. Tsukasa became confused because this didn't happen when he used it before against Fenrir. Loki was disappointed as she needed to explain that when he used Van Argand, the heavenly authority was activated. So in short, he's not really using his weak human body that time. and it was safe to conclude that Tsukasa wouldn't be able to use Fenrir's skills without using the heavenly authority. This lowly then added that it's for that reason that she will be saying these words to him. I hereby forbid the use of heavenly authority as well as the other skills copied from Fenrir. After that, a window informed our MC that these following skills were now sealed and will be unavailable. Tsukasa was shocked by that move. Loki then explained that this is a handicap so that he doesn't start to overly rely on his trump cards. As the name suggests, trump cards should be saved for last. Loki giggled as she realized what she just did. Tsukasa had no other choice but to obey it. He thought that this was the reason why he can't stand trickster gods. A few moments later, these two reached the boss room. Loki commented that this door is quite fancy for a mere goblin. Inside, the final boss of the dungeon is the Goblin King. Its skill, Summon Underling, allows it to infinitely summon more goblins. Being able to defeat this boss monster is said to be the test of whether an awakened has what it takes. Tsukasa then opened the door. It revealed a round setting. On the other end of the room lies a throne where the Goblin King sits. Loki noted that this monster looked quite confident for being a mere goblin. While reaching for his sword, Tsukasa asks if he should be feeling scared or not. The Goblin King also stood up. It had this heavy pressure around him as he stood with its huge wooden club. The boss monster is also at level 15. Black smoke appeared below the boss monster. And a few seconds later, weaker goblins have started to spawn. The Goblin King has finally used his summoning skill, and it summoned hundreds of them. Tsukasa thought that compared to Fenrir, this is no big deal. He was about to think that he should be fine on his own. But Loki spoke again. Stoke the flames of anger and outrage. And after that, the Goblin King started to emit a powerful aura. Dark mana was also oozing from its body. This was the same for the weak goblins that it summoned earlier. A notification window informed Tsukasa that these monsters have entered a berserk state. Our MC then turned his gaze to Loki while asking her what she did. With a devilish expression, Loki told him that this shall be a test for him. She wished him the best of luck. That left Tsukasa speechless. He could only smile while thinking that Loki really is quite a Spartan god. A worthy battle between the Goblin King and Tsukasa was now about to begin. The eyes of the Goblin King were already bloodshot red, and upon fixing its gaze to Tsukasa, his lackeys started to move. Our MC prepared himself against the buffed horde of goblins. Then he also rushed towards them without a hint of hesitation. Loki, on the other hand, continued to watch Tsukasa. She thought that if he couldn't defeat these lowly monsters without the use of heavenly authority, his prospects are not even worth considering. Tsukasa continued to slash the enraged goblins, but he was already surrounded. And unlike earlier, one slash is not enough to kill them. They now had this additional health to fight a little bit more. But this was nothing towards our MC. After defeating one, another group would just jump to attack him. Tsukasa created a short distance between them, and that is so he could defeat them in one go. The corpses of the dead goblins have started to pile up around the area. Tsukasa has also recognized the main problem that he's facing, and that was the Goblin King. This monster just continued to roar at its heart's content. It continued to summon more goblins every time another horde was defeated. This was starting to look like a never-ending battle. It was almost a cheat code. Tsukasa noted that the Summon Underling skill was really a unique and problematic skill. There's no end to these freaking goblins. Nevertheless, if some goblins try to attack Tsukasa, he still defeats them with ease. He thought that unless he defeats the Goblin King, he'll just be stuck here fighting a losing battle. A plan came to his mind. Tsukasa wondered if he could seal the Goblin King's skill. It would not give him any trouble anymore. He held his hand and commanded the Goblin King to never use any skills again. The window confirmed that his wordplay skill has been activated. Blue chains appeared and they prevented the Goblin King from moving. But this boss monster is not a pushover. It tried its best to break the chains. Lo and behold, the Goblin King had really done it. It freed itself from the wordplay skill. It got furious and made its move. The huge-ass goblin was already on its way to bonk the shit out of Tsukasa. It swung its club, and our MC raised his sword to block it. He was clearly struggling against the boss monster, and with its buffed strength, the Goblin King blasted our MC towards the other end of the room. Tsukasa clearly received significant damage. He wondered what the hell just happened. Loki butted in and told him that his idea was correct. It could have worked perfectly if she didn't grant the Goblin King the berserk status. She even teased him and said, "That's too bad." Tsukasa took that statement as if it was a hint. Loki, with her devilish stare, stated that the Goblin King's skills were not sealed. The freaking huge-ass goblin roared again as it used its summoning skill. Loki reminded Tsukasa that the enemy he intends to challenge is a god. He must find a way to turn the tables in this kind of predicament. Tsukasa then remembered the sweet smile of his little sister. He knew that he still needed to defeat the mythic-ranked dungeon that casted a curse on Mayu. And if he struggled in this beginner-ranked dungeon, he's sure that he'll never be able to save her. Loki got excited as she asked Tsukasa if he could still fight, and our MC easily answered it with a yes. While wielding his sword, he added, "Of course I can." Tsukasa thought of the passage of an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. He made his way towards the Goblin King while killing all the normal goblins. A few seconds later, he had cleared one whole section of them, and he's getting closer to the boss monster. That prompted the Goblin King to prepare itself. At the same time, Tsukasa had this determined expression on his face while still fighting the goblins. The Goblin King was then forced to use its summoning skill again. It opened its mouth and roared loudly. It called for another set of fodder goblins. Tsukasa then grinned as he thought that the Goblin King finally used its skill again. He then pierced his sword on the ground while black smoke appeared beneath it. Tsukasa exclaimed that he will now be taking the annoying skill that the Goblin King repeatedly used. Our MC's copycat skill was activated, and it prompted him that he had successfully copied the target's skill. Tsukasa held his hand in front of him. He uttered, "Come forth!" A window confirmed that he had activated his summon underling skill. A blue magic circle appeared in front of him. From the amount of mana coming from it, it stopped the goblins from attacking. Tsukasa smiled as he wondered what his summoned creature would be. A bright ray of light continued to come out from the magic circle. A familiar growl made his smile disappear for a moment. Tsukasa was stunned as he saw what's in front of him. A cute little face of a wolf. A tiny paw with sharp claws. This creature right here is our MC's summoned underling. He couldn't believe that this really happened. A fucking Fenrir appeared, and it even barked.
The summoned creature looked at our MC, and it immediately approached him and rubbed itself on him. Animals usually do this, especially when they like their owners, and I think this is the same case for Tsukasa. His attention was then diverted when he heard Loki laughing out loud upon seeing their interaction. Tsukasa awkwardly greeted his new companion. While looking at it, he wondered if this is the same Fenrir that he fought in the mythic rank dungeon. Although it's small, he could still see the resemblance in them. But before he could really confirm this, the horde of goblins was on their way to attack them. Boy forgot they were in the middle of a fight. For starters, we'll call the summoned creature as Lil Fenrir. Lil Fenrir barked its way towards the monsters, and then it released a fucking dark slash. It's the Varnagand's skill. The weak goblins had no way of dodging this fatal attack, and when it hit them, it caused a massive explosion. Tsukasa was thrilled as he witnessed what just happened. Lil Fenrir has some guts in it. It wagged its tail upon seeing its master satisfied. Our MC then patted its head. He asked Lil Fenrir if it would be willing to fight along his side, and of course it barked, and liked the idea. The Goblin King got jealous because our MC was able to summon a cute underling unlike him who could only summon ugly goblins, so it roared once again. Tsukasa assigned Lil Fenrir to take care of the goblins. The Goblin King dashed instantly to attack them, and that was the same for these two. Lil Fenrir leapt and was about to bite the shit out of these enraged goblins. And at the same time, its master will now have a great time battling the Goblin King one-on-one. The Goblin King immediately raised its club. Just by the looks of it, this will really be a powerful attack. It hit the ground and caused debris flying. Tsukasa didn't dodge the attack and was forced to just block it using his sword. He then gathered his strength and exclaimed while trying to deflect the attack. And a few seconds later, he had finally pushed back the Goblin King. That gave him enough time to find the weakness of this huge-ass goblin. His eyes locked on its legs. Tsukasa immediately slashed them. It made the Goblin King lose its balance and it tumbled on the ground. It groaned in pain and was about to call its lackeys for some assistance. But its eyes widened as he saw what's in front of him. Lil Fenrir had already defeated all of the goblins that it summoned a while ago. There was already a mountain of corpses lying in front of it. Tsukasa sighed and raised his sword. This is the best time to end the freaking battle. His sword pierced right through the Goblin King's head, but since this is a boss monster, it was not enough to kill it. Tsukasa then backed off while calling off Lil Fenrir to finish the job. Our boy leapt and gathered dark lightning around its body. Lil Fenrir unleashed Varnagand, and it was a direct hit. And to finish things off, Tsukasa also leapt at the same time while preparing his attack. Our MC delivered the final blow towards the boss monster. A few seconds later, the body of the Goblin King slowly faded away. Tsukasa stood right in the middle of the boss room while this happened. A black magic stone was also dropped. Loki got his attention as she praised Tsukasa's idea of using the summon underling skill against the Goblin King. But she reminded him to not get cocky just because he defeated a beginner-ranked dungeon boss. Tsukasa already knew that. While looking at the magic stone that the boss monster dropped, he thought that even if it's only a beginner-ranked dungeon, he still managed to clear it solo, and he planned on getting stronger until someday he could also clear a mythic rank one. Loki then asked our MC what name he will give to Lil Fenrir. Tsukasa tried thinking about it for a bit, and a few moments later, he thought of the name Lufin. Upon hearing that, the face of the Fenrir brightened up. I guess it liked it more than Lil Fenrir. But let me guys know in the comments section if we'll call him Lufin or Lil Fenrir. For now, we'll go for Lufin. Tsukasa then patted its head while telling them that they should call this a day already. They still need to trade in the magic stones and buy something tasty for Mayu. Loki followed our MC and told him that she wants to eat some sweets too. Later that day, Tsukasa was already in the JDMO to exchange the magic stones, and the lady couldn't believe that he managed to clear a dungeon solo. As proof, our MC showed her the magic stone that he got from it. He told her that he would want to exchange it for cash. The lady got wary of him while thinking how a level 4 adventurer got allowed to enter a dungeon solo. She answered Tsukasa and requested for a minute while exchanging the magic stone for cash. Tsukasa awkwardly thanked her. This loser may have forgotten that they just hypnotized their way inside the dungeon. After the transaction, Tsukasa was about to leave the place, but he happened to see a bunch of people gathered around. It got his attention and decided to check what's happening. The crowd was looking at a bunch of guys talking to a lady. These fuckers seemed to be forcing the person named Hoshigane to team up with them. Hoshigane had this fair skin and long hair. Tsukasa stared at her while remembering important information about this person. He then figured out that this beautiful lady was none other than the #1 awakened Hoshigan Rin. Rin brushed off these thug-looking guys while telling them that she had no interest in them. And that caught them off guard. Tsukasa felt a second-hand embarrassment for them as he thought that her answer was so harsh. But his smile faded as Rin noticed him and got his attention. All of the people around them were shocked as they looked at the person that caught Rin's eyes. Todo couldn't believe that it was Tsukasa. Our MC tried looking left and right just to make sure he's really the one that Rin addressed. He tried to quickly escape the attention, but Rin followed him and called his name. He then told her that he didn't expect to run into her here. But Rin told him that she did. Turns out, she came here just for him. That made our MC confused. Rin revealed that she got a call from a receptionist she knew, and she was informed that there's an awakened who entered a dungeon alone while only being level 4. She leaned closer to our MC while telling him that Tsukasa may have already known who she was talking about.